She been
Yo,
looking for this ring all day. What's up?
what's going on?
My friend, she been on a quest to find Trey Songz's dick all day, and she finally found it, and she sent it to me.
Oh, oh Lord. This is how we're going to start. This is how we're going to start.
Woo! She said, "Here goes Mr. Steal Your Girl." I'm just like, oh, he's getting fellatio.
Yeah. I had to end up looking at that because 15 women on Twitter retweeted the shit. And
No.
So imagine you're strolling through Twitter in the middle of a doctor's appointment and you see dick just on your home screen. I'm sorry, in the Twitter app. And
very
naturally
disrespectful.
the wife was like, what in the fuck are you looking at? I was like, trust me, you don't want to know. So I showed it to her and she was like, what is she doing? I was like, yo, baby, I don't know what she's doing. I have no clue what she's doing. But whatever she was doing was not oral. That shit was absolutely terrible.
It was terrible. I haven't watched it yet. I just saw that she sent it to me.
Oh yeah. Spend your free time looking at that because I want no parts. None at all. As usual, shout out every single person that's in here right now. I'm sure Shan will, she'll run down the list before we get started. Boy, I'm ready for this episode. I'm very ready.
I think it's going to be really informative, something people could use. QDZ, Screwball Clown, No Love Lost, Abby Fisher, Mateo, Sean, Ayana, 1PKO. What's up? Reyes, what's up? Cody, Jewel, and in the making. She got me. She got me with that. All right, y'all.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to Loudmouth Stereo. We got a good show for y'all. It's Hump Day. We giving y'all podcast informative things, okay? If you do have a podcast, if you're thinking about a podcast, we're going to drop some tips and some resources to use. We are going to get into the week podcast news that's been going on. Greg has some things to say. I have some things to say. Greg has 10 whole resources of information to give. I have 10 whole resources of information to give. I haven't seen what Greg has. Greg has not seen what I have on my paper. But we're going to run down and give y'all all the information we have that will help you in your podcast. My name is Shan from She Gets It Pod. That is Greg from Young Black and Bothered. And we are here. Okay?
Yes, indeed. Before we start, I'm going to say this. I take podcasting very seriously. Very. Just like Shan. We are equals when it comes to our treatment to podcasts, and we hope that anybody new or old treats podcasts the same way. I treat it like, a TV show, a radio station, so to speak. It's not like my life dream. It's not something that I strive to do forever. But hey, if it's going to make me money and I can retire from it and I can get, what I want in terms of enjoyment from it, yes. Baylor, aka BTG for president, he's always said that podcasting is time capsule for his life. So, in 10 to 15 years, he can go back and listen to his episodes and appreciate his growth. I've seen my growth from episode 1 to episode 290 of our show as a podcaster. And I'm hoping that this episode helps a lot of people, both, new and old when it comes to the game, because podcasting, it's a very serious matter. It is a hobby, but if you take it seriously, there are a lot of benefits. And hopefully we can help you out tonight by giving you some good game.
Facts. These are the facts. Do you want to just jump into it, or do you want to give it a minute?
I wanted to jump right in because, actually, before we jump into it, do you want me to run down a couple things? Because I wanted to give people some places that, I've heard that people go to. Mm-hmm. And I just want to do these. These aren't on our list, mind you, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, go ahead.
But, a lot of people I researched and I asked them, where did they go to host their podcast? So you have places like Podbean and FeedPress, Libsyn, Blurberry. Was it like Blueberry? It's spelled Blubrry. You have Amazon. You have Spreaker, Pod Hoster, Cyber Ears, Jellycast, Castmate, Podcast People, Fireside, Rainmaker FM. There's a lot of places to host. I do not. And Pinecast as well. There are a lot of free. There are a lot of paid. I tell anybody who is starting out to start free. Start free for your hosting and then move on. But, that's not even a tidbit that's like on the list for me. I just wanted to, start there because a lot of people feel as though they have to invest money. So hopefully this is a free way or a cost-effective way that everybody can go and not only podcast for free, but enjoy doing it. So if you are this podcast, or even if you've had 4 or 5 episodes before, feel free to chime in with the messages. We'll play them. We won't contradict you. We won't say that you're wrong or nothing like that. The reason why I'm saying that is because we have been in rooms where people have honestly just given misinformation. And I don't want anybody starting out by giving misinformation. So we won't fact check you, or nothing like that. We just want everybody to have equal footing when it comes to podcasting. And I'm slowly but surely seeing people on stereo develop podcasting and, learning how to podcast. Right now, if you're on stereo, you could technically be a podcaster. You have done one-on-one shows with your peers, with your friends and strangers. That makes you a podcaster. But we will have 20 resources for you tonight to hopefully, share, listen, engage with you. So here you are.
And let me say this. I thought I was doing a good deed by going into the shows that I felt like had potential to be podcasts, and I didn't know if they wanted to do podcasts. And I was like, hey, what's up, y'all? We're doing a show tonight for Loudmouth Stereo on here at 9:40. If you need some podcast resources, come through and listen. When I tell you, a lot of people got offended by the fact that we were doing a show on that, and they basically wanted all the listeners to come. But I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna move on. But I just feel like Clubhouse has been trying to give people information and have I want to say more professional podcasters in the room, and thinking like that's going to be like the ticket for them to want to go ahead and start. But I think it's better when you started with a goal, I started with a goal. We went from one platform to the next because of the ways that we want to grow the podcast. We both have 2 different goals of what we want to do in podcasting. Greg would like to be more behind the scenes of podcasting. I don't mind being in the front of it, on the side of it, or behind it. I just don't want anybody to come in and change what my show is about or what it is for. So I think we have 2 separate lists of good things to bring to the table, and that's what we want to share.
Exactly. Before we get into these first few voicemails, I just want to repeat that anybody who wants to leave a comment, there are no questions that won't get answered. We don't have all the answers, but we can definitely direct you to places and people that can. There will be podcasters that are in here that will, also answer you and your voicemail. So don't be scared to like speak up and say how you feel, say what you mean what you say. That's what I've always been taught as a kid. And I'm sober tonight. So you are getting a sober Greg with all the thoughts and all the notes. So with that being said, Shannon, if you want to start with the voice notes.
All right. I'm gonna push these voice notes. We're going to try to do like every 6 that fill up and just play straight, because we know it's gonna be a lot of questions tonight. So I'm gonna just play these.
So this is Sunny Margarita. Check it in. Y'all be easy. Have a great show.
Thank you, Q.
Some had to go get her because she's fucking on my dinner.
Is she?
The owner with the white sedan. You let your lights on.
Oh,
Lord Almighty.
Somebody has drink.
Yes, indeed.
Dinomo, Indiana, from the Mo. So what is the top 5 basic things I need to know just for studio type thing? Like, if you just starting out, because I just got it the other day. So if it was, it's what's your top 5 things I need to know, or what I need to? This is how you do this. This is how you do this. Top 5.
Top five.
Absolutely. We're definitely gonna get to that. I'll give you a tidbit of something though. Always have a folder shared for you and your co-host. That being said, like if you have a co-host, share everything. If you have guests, share everything. Like have a folder for all your, backup episodes, content, contracts, and shit like that. But we're going to get into that. So right now, you have to go through the top 20. So basically, Shan will have 10, I will have 10, and we will get to the most important ones. But you, as an aspiring podcaster, or as a podcaster that knows and has done shows, you pick your top 5. This is not like, a list from like, 10 to 1. This is more so scatterbrained, and everything's getting thrown at you. You're going to learn some. I'm going to learn some. We're all learning. So shout out to everybody that's listening on stereo.
All right. So let's just do, I'm going to start this week in podcast news. Congrats to Joe Budden on connecting podcasting and Patreon in a major way, where he has footing in Patreon as far as podcasts go. So he's instantly bringing in podcasts in order to make money, get money, pick how they want to make their money with their listeners, their viewers. You can go ahead on Patreon and decide how close you want to get with fans. You could go ahead and kind of like name your price in a progressive way. And you have the creative freedom to do video as well as audio, do private interactions with your fans, have a monthly subscription to your show on Patreon. And I think it's a real big deal as far as like giving us more options as podcasters on there. So I'm happy about that. And Anchor has put on a new costume. It has a new fit. Nothing has really changed within the app, Anchor FM app, which is owned by Spotify, but they have a new icon, and that's it. So I don't know what they're going to change within the app. I don't know how it's going to evolve, but Anchor is where I started. Is Anchor where you started, Greg?
Yes, that is exactly where I started.
Anchor is where Greg started, and we are not on Anchor anymore for hosting, but I use Anchor as like a creative tool because it's on the go, it's on my phone, it's on my iPad, it's easy to use on the desktop. I know there are other platforms out there for editing and pushing out a show, but I just feel like Anchor, I'm so used to it and how I can maneuver through it that I'm comfortable with it, and I'll just push it on my hosting site, which is Redcircle. But we'll get into more with that later. Greg has some more news for podcasting this week, and then we'll get into our top 10.
Absolutely. First I wanted to, go with what you said about Joe Budden. So basically, like, I signed up for it the moment you said something about it. He has different tiers. So there's like the $5 plan, the $10 plan, and the $25 plan. So basically it's homies, friends, and friends of the show. I just did the $5, plan because it gets you into the Discord. So the Discord has a whole bunch of resources, so you can actually, mingle with other podcasters, mingle with other people who like his show. And I've already made connections for people with like artwork for podcasting and things like that. So hopefully you guys, just use the resources as they are, and if you want to, be a fan of Joe Budden's podcast, or even if you don't listen to it, I would suggest, joining that, because you never know where that's going to take off. And Discord, I learned today that pretty much all the big podcasts have a Discord. So that's not a little tidbit, but it's something that I learned, and I'm hopefully going to like advance my knowledge on Discord, because I just saw it as like a tool for people who use Twitch, but it's so much more. So shout out to Joe Budden for actually getting that right. So that's actually dope. But in the news for podcasting, first and foremost, I guess I'll start here. So there is a conference on June the 21st. So this conference is called the Global Podcasting Conference, obviously, And it is a 24/7 event that has been held every year in Copenhagen since 2017. If you are just starting out podcasting, you may have never heard of this, or if you have like an established podcast, you may have seen it, but you didn't really recognize it. I've had personal problems with this like platform because I've always wondered why there was not like a established like person of color who led it or, you know, helped out in any way. But this year, since it's all virtual due to COVID, they're allowing people to come in and they are, you know, giving you connections. There's people from like Podfront and Sky Sports. Anybody who's familiar with Sky Sports, it's like a really big like network that, you know, they host podcasts, but they also have live TV stuff. And a lot of their podcasters are now anchors for Sky Sports. So there's ways in that, you know, you start as a podcast and you can like elevate yourself within the ranks by simply just going to conferences and getting to meet new people. So I suggest going to podcastday24.com. That is one of the best podcast conferences that I've seen. It's not a structured, like, this is for true crime, or this is for like news, or this is for NPR. It's for everybody. And there will be people from every walk of life on there, from Pacific Connect, Sky Sports, BBC, NPR, RTS, which is radio. I think it's in Spain, I want to believe. They're also like, they have marketing people from Spreaker. They have Radio Canada, The Comb, fellow podcasters as well, including the co-creator of the Ear Hustle podcast, who is Nigel Poor. That woman, she does so much work in the podcast community, and the fact that she's going to be there and she's going to be answering questions and doing an AMA, everybody needs to like chime in for that one. That's probably one of the biggest ones for me. So shout out to Nigel Poor. The next thing on my list is not much, but Spotify, they launched audiobooks to compete with Audible. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not the biggest fan of Spotify because of the way that they kind of handle podcasting. And I see them trying to do the same thing in the audiobook space. I'm a fan of that, though. I'm a fan of pretty much being an all-in-one app for everything. But at some point, you have to figure out what's going to get dropped off for them to, you know, take off elsewhere. More people listen to audiobooks than podcasts, and that's a fact. So if they are going, because think about like your mom, my mom, they may listen to audiobooks. We know of Audible, like that's more promoted than, you know, the Apple Podcast app or Spotify, you know, podcast or something like that. So the fact that they're, you know, already dropping audiobooks, I think they have like 9 of them, and they're from well-known, like, you know, authors and, you know, well-known people who drop these books on Spotify. I'm a fan of it, but I just don't want them to get lost in trying to do everything instead of just leaving some for the actual podcast community. That's always been my like main issue with Spotify was podcasting. But if they can pull off both, you know, audiobooks and podcasting and music, Spotify might overtake Apple completely because they've kind of cornered the market with the fact that they have audiobooks in their app. So that is another like really big piece of news. Next on my list of like this week in podcasting, Apple Podcasts. If you have an Apple Watch, they have this new feature with, I think, Watch OS, what is it, 14.4, 14.5, where they are targeting Apple Watch users for walking. So what they have you do is on your watch, if you have like AirPods in or headphones in, you can go walking and you'll have someone telling you like an inspiring like story that will get you to walk more. So if you aren't active and you don't listen to podcasts, like that is a good way to start, because you have to start slow with like obviously audiobooks and like spoken word. And that's an easy way into podcasting, which I think is really cool that they're, you know, getting it right with Apple. So both Apple and Spotify, for the first time ever, I'm going to say congratulations for actually getting things right for this week. And the last thing that is on my list when it comes to podcasting, Skype. So basically Apple came out with a new, if you have a MacBook, they came out with a new Apple Silicon like OS, like computer and everything like that. But if you use Skype, which a lot of people do use, the call recorder app for Skype no longer will work if you update to Apple Silicon. This is a huge deal because there are a lot of people who, you know, they don't really update their computers anyway. I know some people who on like Mac OS Catalina or, you know, even like before, but more recently, Apple's changed policies where you have to update your apps in order for them to all be cohesive and work together. And The Skype app is, Skype is free. And as a podcaster, that's usually the first resource that people tell you to record. But the issue with Skype is you can't really save the podcast audio. And the only way you can do this is with the third-party app called Call Recorder for Skype.
Which is annoying.
Going forward, exactly. But going forward, you won't be able to actually use this. It was made by a company called Ecamm Network. And Jason Snell, shout out to him, he actually reported that the company confirmed that they will no longer give updates for this app, which means that you will have to either upgrade from Skype to another platform to record your podcast, or you have to stay back and you.
Do you hear this? Do you hear this silence? Yes, this is a space where your ad could be played about your product, where your ad could be played about your business, about your show, because I believe we can all be great on different shows and platforms. So if you're looking for ad space right now, your ad could be playing here instead of me talking and instead of this silence. So next time when I do an episode and you want to promote your show, your business, or your services, hit me up at sheguessitpod@gmail.com. Now back to my show. Don't say I never gave y'all anything. I'm giving you this space to be great.
Won't get further updates, which means if Skype decides that they want to do like required updates for your like device, you'll no longer be able to record your podcast. Luckily, we're in a list where, we're doing an episode tonight where you're going to get some resources of where you can actually go to record, including your own phone. So those right there are my, this week in podcasting. So Shannon, I don't know if you had anything else, but that was mine for this week.
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, I think we got a voicemail, so you might as well just get that one gone. We're going to get in this list because I'm ready.
I love me some black sisters and some black guys. Once you go black, you never go back. What's up?
Okay, Edge. You pushing it to the edge.
Yeah.
All right. So
yes, indeed.
Let's get into this top 20. I'll go first since I have a vagina. All right. Okay. My 10th resource for podcasting I have on here is Anchor FM. Yes, I have it as number 10 because it is self-explanatory. It does what it does, and that's it. So Anchor FM is a free podcast platform that you can have on Android or iPhone. You can download it. It's free. You can set up your podcast on there. It's free. I use it as a creative, user-friendly tool to edit and then send my recording elsewhere as an MP3. I like the features on it. It's easy. It's self-explanatory. It's easy to trim. It's easy to separate your audio into sections. You can make your own commercial in there for whatever you want to sell. Sometimes I might do one for ad space. Sometimes I might do one for merch. They do have a feature where you can record with people. It's not that great. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I don't like is that there's a lot of podcasts on there that I haven't seen elsewhere. There's a lot of podcasts on there that are not really getting the marketing that they need to get as far as being seen elsewhere. And so you really have to be able to push your own show if you start with Anchor yourself. And also, Anchor may or may not pick up your show to go ahead and submit it to an Apple. You might have to do it manually. Some people have done it manually. Sometimes Anchor chooses to go ahead and do it for you. So it just depends. But as far as like a tool to use to complete your show and edit it and have it structured, that's what I use Anchor FM for. So that's my number 10.
Okay. So my number 10 on the list is Otter.ai. So it's pretty much the best way that you can ever transcribe your podcast. A lot of people don't really use like transcriptions for their podcast. They usually just record and go. But after talking to, a couple of people on Clubhouse, I researched this and I didn't realize that, we weren't really being considerate of the deaf and the hard of hearing. So if you have someone that may be, deaf or hard of hearing, or even like a sighted user who is, of one of the two, they can actually view and understand visual content. So if they can't go, there are podcast apps that will let you transcribe it within the app, but Otter AI lets you go and take that podcast and, you can just do the audio and you can have like subtitles to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that content, then you can publish to like a YouTube. But what you do is you just publish the audio to YouTube. So you can tell your listeners to, if, they wanted to, they can go and get the transcriptions directly from YouTube. And obviously YouTube's free and you get a kickback if you are, using that as paid content from there. So that is my number 10 resource, which is otter.ai.
Interesting. All right. Number 9 for me is going to be Google keywords, something else that's free. Because a lot of people like to complain about, I want to start a podcast, but I don't have the money. I think it sounds like it's going to be expensive. No, Google keywords is something free. It's a good extension that you can add onto your internet browser on your laptop or your desktop. You can add it to your browser. What it does is it picks out keywords that you are looking for. So let's say if I wanted to do an episode about kids, what is going on with kids right now in the media? It will basically pick up all the searches that people are doing all over the world that involves the word kids. And it'll show you at the side which ones are top and which ones are not really being searched. So let's say if kids going to daycare with COVID is like the most searched shit, then that tells me that you should do an episode on kids going to school with COVID. So like it helps you format your ideas for if you're looking for some type of show to do. It's better than you just putting in a Google search. What articles come with this? We put in the keywords, you can see how many people have searched for it, what are they looking for, and all the keywords start popping out of different articles, and that helps you kind of like filter what you want to talk about if you feel like you're getting dry on ideas for shows. It's a great way to help you narrow down what you want to talk about for episodes. So that's Google keywords and it's free.
Okay. All right. So my number 9, voicemails. A lot of people that I know like to have voicemails for their podcast. Unlike before stereo, people actually left voicemails where, you as the podcaster, you can go into your inbox, you can, pick the ones that were the voicemails, you can play them live on your show. But the issue is most people were using Google Voice. Google Voice now, they have a cap to, I think it's like 60 seconds, but a lot of people, they talk a lot, they're like me, and they want to make sure that they only leave one voicemail. So there are voicemails for podcasters specifically. One is called VoiceLink and the other one is called SpeakPipe. They allow, I think, up to a 3-minute voicemail, which actually helps grow your content for your show. So that could be the difference in like, a space gap where you're like, you know what, we just need a soda break. Let me play this voicemail. Or, we just have content from our listeners that obviously aren't on stereo. They can leave a voicemail similar to how stereo works, but stereo has a cap of a minute, which I think is perfect. And I think Google Voice is perfect. However, if you have people who are long-winded like myself, SpeakPipe, VoiceLink, those are 2 amazing voicemails for podcasters, and they're free. So, we're trying to get y'all, for the low. We're trying to get it for you, for the low to begin with. So that is my number 9.
Keep your stimmy. Greg and I got you. Okay, Greg.
Yes.
You teach me something new. I had no idea that existed. For my number 8, I have something Greg brought to my attention. It's called Podlink. POD. So basically, it's an easy, free resource to share your podcast easily. One link. People click on it, they can see where your podcast is available. They can click on whatever bubble they want as far as where they want to listen. You can go ahead and post it on Twitter. You could put that link in your Instagram bio feed. You could put that link on stereo in your bio if you want to. It's up to you, but it's called Podlink. So it's kind of like, where can I send these people so they can stop asking me, is this show on Radio Public? Is this show on Castbox? Is this show on Apple? You just send them your pod link that is just for your podcast, which is free on there. They're not charging you anything, and people will automatically have all the places where your podcast can be listened to.
Fact. I'm telling you, this is some valuable information here. Valuable information. So far, Shan has Anchor, Google Keynotes, and Google Keywords and PodLink. I don't know how to top that. You gonna outdo me soon. I'm gonna run out.
You got some bullets.
I'm gonna run out. So now this one I want to share with Shan. So I'm gonna have to share this one with Shan because she has her own store. So Redbubble, Teepublic, and Shan's choice, which is Teespring, are the go-to for merchandise unless you have an established storefront. Let me repeat that. Redbubble, Teespring, and Teepublic are the go-to for merchandise unless you have an established storefront. Let me go ahead and just say this though, for anybody who is listening. If you have an established storefront, know your audience. Do not push people to your marketplace that has nothing to do with your podcast. I have to stress that. There are a lot of podcasters who they start out, but they have another business. They sell candles, they sell wax, they sell earplug. I don't care what you sell. If it's not about your podcast, that is not the marketplace for that shit. Your marketplace is where you sell the merchandise for your podcast, especially starting out. You don't have anybody who knows anything else you do in real life. It is like LinkedIn. Everything you need to do should be there, except for, obviously the things that you do on the side. All your side hustles are not your podcast. Your podcast is its own side hustle. So when it comes to merchandise, I tell people to stick to one of the three: Redbubble, Teespring, Teepublic. You get a commission. If you actually email or message them on Twitter, you can say, hey, I have a business that I'm running through your site. How about you send me merchandise that I can go and show off as, incentive for people to actually purchase it? Because you can't go and tell, your listeners, hey, purchase this at Teepublic, purchase this at Redbubble, and you don't have one for yourself. So all three of these will allow you, to get samples of your own merchandise so you can show people exactly what it is. So those are, that's my, what is that number? Is that 6? I think that's 7. So that's my number 7. Shan, I don't know if you wanted to go into that one also, but
I'm just gonna piggyback a little bit for Greg's. I use Teespring because my life is set up in a way where I do not have a thermal printer in my house with my 2 kids. I do more than one show for podcasting. I don't have the overhead to go ahead and order, 50 shirts in small in this, 11 shirts in large in this, or, all these mugs and sit on it and be able to push it out. I don't have boxes here. I don't want that because it gets too tedious. So Teespring works kind of like a drop ship. You pick the apparel or the item that you want to go ahead and put your logo on and whatever you want to say. They go ahead and give you the website page so you can have it for your shop or your podcast. You have your merch on there. You promote your merch. You promote that link. You push out the pictures for that website. And then people who really want to support you that don't want to send in money through the Redcircle link that I have in my description, you can go ahead and get something for supporting She Gets Her or Cozy Womb or Let's Shop Bid or Loudmouth Stereo, because we do have a shop. So that is your way of getting something out of supporting something we have. And we do appreciate it, but I detest the motherfucking post office. So that is why I do drop shit. All right. So my number 7 thing.
Oh, hold on. Wait. I got to say one more thing about this because I was expecting you to say it. So using a storefront like Redbubble, Teespring, or Teepublic, it will completely eliminate your friends from saying shit like, can you send me? it will completely stop that, because not only can you send them a link and they can get it, you can tell them there's a discount code and you can give them discount codes if you want to. But on top of that, though, the ones who say, oh, everybody has that friend who's like, yeah, girl, I purchased something from your site, blah, 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 but it never came. Guess what? For every sale you make, you get an email saying this person, this person purchased it. And you will know if your auntie Maureen or your boo, your bae, your coworker, you'll know if they purchased that shit, because at that point you got all the information.
Your friends and your family are going to be the last people to support you that know nothing about podcasting, so don't count on it. And your greatest friends are going to go out their way and just purchase the stuff and not even like put on blast that they purchased this stuff. They just got the shit because they want to support you. And what I do now, since this pandemic, and I know the mail is fucked up, sometimes when I order stuff personally from Teespring, it'll come really quick. Sometimes it might take a couple of weeks, but I stay on top of whoever ordered something. I send you a separate email myself, and I give you the most updated update I got, because I know what it's like to be a customer on the other end wondering where my shit is. So I am understanding of that during this pandemic. But for me right now, Teespring works for me. But I also do know, and I appreciate, and I do support women and men out here with their own websites, with their own products sitting in their house, pushing it hard, like Protect Your Energy, Chris Calavari. I support them, but I'm just not there yet.
Yep.
So my number 7 resource for podcasting on my list is definitely going to be Suitable Supplies. What the fuck is that, Chantal? Let me tell you. Suitable Supplies is you having a creative area that is quiet, because I hate when people are trying to podcast and you can hear everything going on in their house in their background. It's unprofessional. Journals that you can write in, or paper that you can have to go ahead and jot down your ideas and your notes, so you're not and having dead space in your episode. Know what you want to talk about. Headphones. I'm not telling you to go out and buy $600 headphones off rip, but have some headphones. That way you can hear yourself. You can get that honest feedback, right? And as you acquire money, or however you do it financially, you can get some better headphones. A push pin board. That shit is like wonders for me. I have one in my house and it looks like madness, but it's my organized madness, where I put all my notes, my dockets, my ideas, my sticky notes and all of that. And it keeps me focused on what I need to do for my shows. Good pens, because I think Greg is very digital, where he'll go ahead and put in his notes for his episodes on his phone or on his laptop. I like tangible things. Like, I like to write it out and just say it. I like to put it in journals and just say it. If I do notes in my phone, it's usually hashtags, and I'll get into that. But yeah, good pens make you want to write longer. Greg has been a wonderful, wonderful friend. And he sent me a mic. But before, I wasn't using a mic. I was using my iPhone. And nobody really knew I was using my iPhone unless they had an engineer ear. But for the most part, if you have a quiet space, you speak clearly, and your phone is up to date, you can record from your phone, especially using Anchor FM. Not everything is going to allow you to record from your phone, but that is something you can use. But if you go to invest, you could get a mic, a hard drive, just in case your computer decides to die on your ass because you're going ham on podcasting. A good laptop. Laptops are really cheap out here, but until you could get the best one, get a good one. And Amazon review on items before you buy it. Don't just be like, okay, I want a podcast, I'm gonna get top of the line shit. Look at the top of the line shit. Take your ass to Amazon, read them reviews, and see if that's the right item for you for where you're at. So my number 7 thing is Suitable Supplies for podcasting.
Okay. I like that. I absolutely like that. Oh yeah, Shannon and I are giving y'all some heat. I like this. I just want to remind everybody who is listening live on stereo, if you do have a question, if you have a comment, if you just want clarity and more information, please leave a voicemail. Y'all don't have to be quiet. I know, we're giving y'all some good information, but trust me, any question is a good question. But being quiet, it doesn't help anybody, because then you're gonna still leave with questions. And even then, you can still message us. You can message us on Twitter and social media and stuff like that. But I mean, it's best right now. You have the opportunity, just go ahead and do it. I'll get into my number 7. So my number 7 is analytics. If you're looking for the best place for analytics, there are 5. And in no particular order, the 5 are Chartable, Podtrac, Podkite, Backtracks, and Deezer. Deezer is also a streaming service that you can actually, have your podcast on. We can talk about that in maybe part 2 of the, this episode, because we're going to have a part 2. But with analytics, those are something that you really need for your show. Anchor, one of the reasons why I personally left was because of their analytics and the fact that they were absolute shit. Luckily, our new place that we use is a bit better. And I actually trust those analytics. But if you want everything itemized down to the state and the town that people are listening to your stuff, Chartable is probably the best one. It does cost, though. I will tell you that. Not everything is free in this world, including analytics. So that is my number 7, analytics. And, the 5 again are Chartable, Podtrac, and that's spelled Podtrac, Podkite, which is spelled Podkite, Backtracks with an S, and Deezer, which is spelled Deezer. So that's my number 7 for, podcast resources.
What do you think about Google Analytics?
I don't trust Google's analytics, because they pull from their streaming platform first. But the issue with Google's podcasting platform is they are actually the last ones to get everything. So say if you publish a show and you have it published, most of my shows come out at 7 a.m. The reason why is because I want it to be in everybody's ears, either when they're on the commute to work, or it's already downloaded, so they don't have to go in the afternoon. They're like, you know what, I got, it's my lunch break, I want to listen to a show. They don't have to worry about downloading it. It's automatically at their phone. And a lot of platforms, they have a little delay, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but Google is the worst one. Google's takes at least 20 to 30 minutes to get to your phone. That's why I hate Google Podcast, the app. I hate their analytics, mainly because they do Google first. So they have Google's and then they have Apple's. But the issue with Apple's is everything is US based. So you won't know your proper analytics when it comes to Google just using them. They'll say, hey, you had 43 listeners in the US. It's wait a minute. Out of all 50 states, I had 43 listeners. That's not possible. And you go to somewhere else and they're telling you, hey, you had 700 listeners. You're like, oh, well, which one is right and which one is wrong? I'm telling you, it's Google. Every single time, it's Google. They pull from 2 sources. They don't pull from Spotify. They don't pull from Tidal and things like that. The reason why is because all of that data is mined by, Google, and they can't get through, places with privacy restrictions Spotify, Apple, shit like that. So for me, I tell anybody Google Analytics is probably your worst best friend. If you want to do the free route and you want to feel good saying, hey, somebody listened to my shit this week, go to Google Analytics. But if you want something more in depth and you want to know, hey, I got listeners in fucking St. Louis, I got listeners in San Francisco, California, I have, fans in Washington, that is, not what you're going to get with Google Analytics.
Facts. All right. So what number was that for you?
That was 7.
Okay. So I'm going to do 6. My number 6 podcast resource on my top 10 has got to be Canva. Canva is a god. Yes. Canva is a web resource where you can create posts for Instagram, posts for your stories, posts for your website. You can edit pictures and photos. You can pick up backdrops. I do all my covers now through Canva for free. It downloads right to your computer. It's the pixels are perfect to the point where you could pick your size for what you need. because I know some things have size restrictions. You can send it digitally through email without a problem. You can post it on a merchandise and it doesn't pixelate. It's a real good, easy resource as far as digitalizing your artwork. It's a graphic saver if you don't have a graphic designer for certain things. Just Google it and it's free. Okay. You can go ahead and pay for the pro version where you can access everything. Some things in there you cannot access for free, but for the most part, they have great resources. I just did a book cover for my next book in Canva, and it looks pretty good. So if you need those things and you cannot access a graphic designer or a logo maker or something to that sort to look semi-professional, check out Canva. And that's Canva.
Look at you doing amazing. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give out my number 6, and then hopefully again, everybody, if you got voicemails, drop them. We're giving everybody the chance because I think we're gonna have to end up playing voicemails after this one. Number 6 for me is 3 sites. Well, it's not sites, it's more so places where you can go, and I'll explain what they do. So later, like before, after, like later, Buffer and dlvr.it. What all 3 of these do, they allow you to post your content automatically. So you may have heard of Buffer before, you might have heard of Hootsuite. They're similar. They are competitors, but they're all good. The reason why I didn't put Hootsuite on there is because it's priced really weird, and I feel like they are probably the worst one on that list when it comes to automatically posting your content. So with later Buffer and dlvr.it, all of them allow you to plan all of your social media. So on Sunday, for a fact you done recorded your show and you're like, what, I might forget that the show published on Monday and I don't have the time because I'm at work to post on my Instagram page and my Twitter. What it does is, at least with Buffer, you can actually go and automatically time all of your podcast promotion on one app. So if you have a Facebook page, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, feed, you can go and post all at the exact same time. And what it will do is it will post everything. It'll post on your Instagram story. It'll post on, Twitter, Facebook, all that shit at the exact same time. So if you know for a fact that your show is going live at 12 p.m. and you want to let people know, hey, I have a show that's going live at 12 p.m., you can go in that app on Buffer or either of the other two, go to that, put all the information in, set the time that you want it to go. You can say, what, at 10 a.m., I want all this stuff to be published. It will do all that for you automatically without a hiccup. So that is my number 6. But more importantly, it helps plan podcast episode promotion on social media. That means you don't have to go and pay a social media manager. That means you don't have to go and hope that your co-host, post something for you. You can do it yourself, set it and forget it. And more importantly, you can schedule stuff out in advance. So if you're having, like episode, like Shan just had her 700th episode, she can go and say, what, episode 1000. It's going to come in like 6 weeks because how Shan posts her episodes. Like, she has like 6 in a day. So what you can do is she can go and say, what, in 2 weeks, episode 100, 1000. Here is what I want to post on Twitter, and I want to post it at this exact time, and it will do it every single time. So that is my number 6, which is basically automatic content posting, which is, again, later. That's 1, Buffer, which is 2, and dlvr.it, which is number 3. The alternative, obviously, is Hootsuite, but I do not suggest that one.
That's good stuff. I didn't know anything about that. All right, I'm gonna play these messages before I get into my number 5.
Perfect.
Hey guys, it's Bandy Band. I'm just stopping by to say this is good information. Like, this is new for me, like podcasting and stuff like that. And so I don't know if I want to go far with it. I kind of just enjoy stereo, but this good information that you guys are dropping gems definitely. So I'm listening in just in case I can use any of this information in the future. Thank you guys for sharing.
No problem, Bandy Bandit. Go ahead.
I didn't want to stop between each one, but for Bandy, she has at least 50 talks that she's done on here. Those are podcast episodes. Take all of those and Save them to your computer. Name them what they were named. Keep them there, because now you have 50 episodes for a podcast, and you could drop that shit today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and those will be episodes. So you already have a back catalog from the talks that you've had on stereo. You've done podcasting already, Vandy, so you don't have to go and create much. All you have to do is, do what Shan said when it comes to having a docket, having a format, and more importantly, the content that you put out is your content. On here, on your voice notes, or anything like that, it's there. So, Bandy, I would suggest, while you can, like Shan and I do every episode, once we finish recording, we, copy the link to download, we download it, and we put it in, the file folder, if you want to call it that, for episodes that either we post immediately or we post later. I'm sitting on at least 12 episodes from last year that, I can post whenever. I can post them in April, I can post them in November. Either way, I would suggest anybody who has done a talk on stereo, you have these episodes. That is your content. That is yours to keep. But if stereo goes and disappears, tomorrow, all of your content now is just poof in the air. You can't do anything with it. Save all of your content on, like Shan said, a hard drive. Save it on your computer. And more importantly, that is your show. You can create from there.
And even when you email it to yourself, it expires in I think 4 or 5 days. So you put that somewhere. All right, I'm going to play the next one.
Is it weird when I meditate, I put cream cheese between my toes?
No, do what you need to do, sir.
Yes.
Wow. She gets it, Pod.
What's good?
What up, Doe?
What's good?
Hey, Greg. What's the deal?
What's going on? What's up?
Peace to the planet and all wise creations. I am Ryan Blackwealth, reporting live from Detroit, Michigan. Just channel surfing here on stereo. Landed right here on y'all's show.
Thank you.
So what's the deal, people? How we feeling on this Wednesday night?
Good.
Are we all black in America here? How we feeling in America? What's the mindset at? What's the mindfulness level at? Give me the science. I'm really interested in your perspective. Like I said, peace to the planet and all wise creations. I'm tuned in. Peace.
Absolutely. Shout out to, he said his name was Ryan. So shout out to Ryan, aka R Black Wealth. I'm gonna tell him this now. I don't know if he's into stocks or, if he wants to talk about Black Wealth. That's a podcast right there. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to give the game out and then somebody else steal the style. He knows what he needs to do, and with a name like R Black, that is a fucking podcast right there. So shout out to Ryan, shout out to Black Wealth and all that.
Love it.
Also would like to say thank you guys for this pod today. Excellent topic. I'm here for it. I'm gonna have to tap into the game tape too so I can get the ones that I missed already, man. But I'm here. I'm tapped in.
Yeah.
But just had to say appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
You're welcome. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you too.
Good evening. We're shaking Greg. How you doing? She got a podcast.
What's
How
up?
you guys been? Oh man, it's my Friday, and I'm so happy to be on my way home.
Yeah.
What's good with you guys?
Nothing. You sound like you in New York.
He's in New York, all right, and he's in these streets because that's his name. He on the sports desk. His name is Lord Shamik in the streets, and yes, he gives us all of the play of where Kyrie Irving is, but he also does, other shows. He goes into the comments, and he's on the streets anyway. So shout out to Shamik. Shout out to Lord Shamik.
Good.
Hey man, do y'all got a podcast or something? Shit, I'd really love to follow that.
Absolutely.
Greg's podcast is Young Black and Bothered. My podcast is She Gets It Pod. It's on damn near all the podcast platforms, and if it ain't on one, it must be new.
Yeah. And like Shan said before earlier, if you missed it, I would highly suggest to go and type in She Gets It podcast at Podlink. If you do that, you can find out if it's on any platform that you use. So shout out to Podlink.
Thanks.
Hey, I like your shows. You're cool.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
How do you share the whole podcast from stereo. That's what I'm having. I'm only getting like 20 seconds of my shows when I do a show. How do I get the whole show to download?
All right, so you got to wait till it's over when you do a show with somebody, and then it'll populate when you go to your profile icon below your profile. You'll see the latest show that you did. When you click on those three dots, it'll give you an option to go ahead and download it to your phone or to go ahead and email it to yourself. Once you email it to yourself, it'll give you a link. Then the link's going to send you to a website where you can download the MP3 or the MP4, and then it's boom on your laptop or your desktop, and you can do whatever you want with that MP3.
Big facts.
All right. So
Shan, hold on. Before we go into number 5, I know we got to go into number 5. I wanted to just go and give one extra tidbit that I didn't get to mention about the audiobook situation. About Spotify. I wrote it down to say, but I forgot. Just to mention it, and this is about the audiobooks that Spotify will be launching, and they are competing with Audible. When it comes to it, Spotify over the last 2 years has spent $1 billion on podcast acquisitions. So what they are saying to keep in mind for 2021, it's anticipated that podcast ad revenue will be at $1 billion. Notice what I said, $1 billion. To reference what it was in 2020, in 2020, it was $782 million in ad revenue, which means it's gone up in a pandemic, meaning obviously more podcasters, and there are more companies that are going, instead of going to networks and TV, they're coming to podcasts because podcasting is where it is. But the thing is, you have to be willing to know that it's not instant. You don't start a podcast knowing that you're going to get ads and you're going to get revenue. So Spotify, knowing for a fact that they spent $1 billion in a year for podcasts, and in 2021, they're expecting to spend another just in ad revenue. I want anybody who does do a podcast, yes, put your podcast on Spotify, but do not just go and overextend yourself to just one. Don't say, you know what, I'm just going to put my podcast on SoundCloud. I'm just going to put my podcast on Spotify. Get all the fucking ad revenue you can, because while these companies are doing it, like Manscaped and what's that game? Like Quiplash, all those games that they talk about on those shows, on those podcasts. Make sure that you get a piece of that pie, because that's $1 billion pie right there. And I don't know too much about Dogecoin anymore, but if I can get ad revenue that's going to add up, because I know they got $1 billion worth of it, I want anybody else to do the exact same thing. So that's pretty much what I wanted to touch on before we go back into the list.
please check out She Gets It Shop on Teespring. The website is in the description for this show. All right, I got merch on there for the show for those who would like to wear their support or show their support that way. You can support the She Gets It show and podcasts and merch on that website. And if you can't get the website, just remember www.whoisshan.com, and you can support me on other shows too and other places to shop for merch. Let's get back to the show. Facts, good stuff. All right, so my number 5 top 10 podcast list of things is Zoom. Zoom is a great way to on the go record, have meetings, talk to people face to face without them having your phone number, or just get visuals. I signed up for Zoom in March. I've been paying them $14 a month to go ahead and be able to record on it when I want to. Record what I'm talking about, use the audio or use the video. It instantly downloads to my computer. I can take that MP3 and drag it into Anchor, edit it, break it down, put it into my host platform on Redcircle, and boom, there goes a whole episode. Sometimes if Greg and I do a 4-hour show, which we haven't done in a while because we got things going on, and I don't mind it. I like these short shows, straight to the point. We can divide one show into 2 shows. So you're killing 2 birds with one stone. You get to monetize it twice. and we each go ahead and we put the show on each of our platforms. So if you missed the beginning of this show today, listen, it's going to be on She Gets a Podcast, and it's going to be on Young Black and Bothered. You can catch it on either one, so you're not left out of the loop. And I think it's very important to go ahead and utilize everything that you have. If you're really thinking about it, $14 a month is nothing. People spend more on lunch every day. So it's really thinking about how do you want to invest in yourself. Zoom has great features on it. They're updating features all the time. It's great for if you have like a group of 20 people you're recording with. Sometimes I might do that some nights with Everything Culture with Mr. Drake, Mr. D713. And we might do one of his shows on Sundays, and it has a lot of podcasters in it. He can still use that audio if he wanted to. He can still use that video if he wanted to. And I think Zoom is a great thing to use. There are things like Skype, but I don't think Skype ever equates to anything like Zoom. I like it because it's easy. My daughter uses it for virtual school. I use it. It's easy to go ahead and send a link to somebody I haven't met that just wants to do a recording with me real quick, which I did last week. People that I meet on Clubhouse, we set up a day. We want to record, boom, it's done on Zoom. Everybody has their recording. So it's really easy to use. If you're really thinking about podcasting and investing in a way to interview someone without any interruptions, get Zoom.
Yes, please. Not only do I use Zoom, everything Shan said, I piggyback that one. Also invest in a stock for them if you can. I remember before in the pandemic, it was like 12 to 13 bucks. Now it's like $100 and something. And now that Skype has gone the way where you cannot record your audio, Zoom might be it. And if, the longer we're in this pandemic, more people are starting to do things on Zoom that is not podcast related. Your job might have Zoom. I actually did, my wife threw me a birthday party through Zoom. So people don't even have to leave the house anymore. You can have happy hours. You can have birthday parties safely during the pandemic with Zoom. So it's an investment within itself. So, shout out to Shan for saying that, because that was not even on my list. I'm jealous. I'm very jealous.
What?
I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous.
What's your number, Greg?
My number 5. Anybody who podcasts can tell you that they absolutely hate Apple Podcast rating format. I hate it because it doesn't tell you the specific date, doesn't tell you the new versus the old. You have to sort and everything like that. More importantly, the podcast ratings that you get, they don't show you all of them. That's something I did not know. So if you have, listeners in the UK or Canada and things like that, they do not give you their ratings and their rankings. So the ratings are when they actually leave a message. Their ratings are when they give you the 1 through 5. But I'm letting everybody know that there are 2 websites that will link you to every single site where people have left reviews for your show. Let me repeat that. There are sites that will link you to other sites where people have left reviews for you. I did not know that I had reviews on Spotify. I did not know that I had reviews on Stitcher. These two websites are ratethispodcast.com and mypodcastreview.com. Now, my podcast review, you can try it for 14 days. Basically, what I tell people is, with my podcast reviews, you can actually try it for 14 days and you can get all of your ratings and reviews from Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podchaser, Castbox, and all of those. Obviously, it's free for 14 days, but it's an investment if you want to continue to do that. I just tell people, do it for the 14 days that matter. If you want to do it every 6 months, all you got to do is just sign up with a new email address, get the 14-day trial, see your reviews, and boom, there you are. If you're a podcaster like we used to read our reviews on the show. We stopped doing that because we didn't get reviews. Now I'm like, oh, we had all these goddamn reviews. I could have put those on the show. Now I can do that. So shout out to my podcast reviews. Rate This Podcast. They do have a pricing tier as well. And you can actually triple your podcast ratings and reviews by actually going to the site and registering. So I want to say they have a free tier as well. The free tier has, you can have a single podcast and you get 5 reviews a month limited. So if you just want to read your reviews on the air, or if you just want to see how good or bad your show has been, that's probably the best tier, which is free. The solo plan is $9 a month, but you get unlimited reviews. So if you want to see your reviews, yes, that is the plan that you want to get. But say if you, like Shan, she has multiple shows. This one is a little bit pricey for me. It's $29 a month. It's called the Growth Plan. You can do up to 10 of your podcasts, and you can get unlimited reviews, and you get review tracking. Basically, not only will it tell you, like, you know, the review, it will also tell you the location where you were reviewed. So you'll get the detailed analytics. You know, you'll see how many listeners listened, you know, and viewed the link, where they come from, and a lot more. You can monitor, obviously, Castbox, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, and more, and you see all of the reviews in a simple dashboard. So if you want to get more ratings, reviews, and subscribers to your show, Rate This Podcast is the one way that you can actually go and look at your ratings and reviews. So shout out to the both of them.
Yes. Come on, drop these goddamn gems. All right. My number 4 podcast resource out here that I love to use, it makes it super easy for me to post because I post so often, has got to be #generator. Google it. It's free. If you go to all-hashtag.com, they have a generator where you could just put in a word, and it gives you at least 30 hashtags pertaining to that word that you can post in your podcast post, so you don't have to really think about it. You can even go in there and edit some, take some out, and add some more in. Instagram will only allow you to do up to 30 hashtags. So it's a really good thing. Once you select like your 30 that you want to do, you can go ahead and put it in there and you're done. You don't even have to think about it. It is very essential to hashtag your episodes, hashtag your posts, because it makes it easy for people to Google your name and find you. Even the hashtags that are spelled incorrectly are good because people are going to spell things incorrectly. All right. And if they put it in wrong, they could still find you. So things that are sound close or look like it should be your name, but it's not it, put it in there. It's not really good to keep repeating your same hashtags because it'll mess up the algorithms on some platforms. So always try to switch it up a little bit. Hashtag on Twitter, hashtag in your description and your Instagram, and when you post it on websites. And I promise you, when people put in 3 letters of your show, your name is going to pop up in that feed. And there's another hashtag website called displaypurposes.com. That one is free too, so you can use that. So don't say you don't know what hashtags to put up. There's so many things that are free out here to go ahead and do it with.
Talking that shit. We're at number 4, right? So number 4 for me, Podchaser. Podchaser is the equivalent of IMDB. So if IMDB is for movies, Podchaser is for podcasters. You register for the site, you connect to the site, and you can also rate and review there. It's probably one of the more used ones for me now because you can connect with other podcasters, but you don't have to do too much. Like, you're like, oh, you have a podcast similar to mine. So Podchaser for me is definitely number 4. I don't have anything else to say about it. It's just a really good alternative for IMDb for podcasters. Instead of going to Apple Podcasts and typing in, I heard about this podcast and blah, 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 blah. You want to set up yourself as a podcaster on Podchaser. That will get your name out there because a lot of people don't know about it. But if they did, they would know, hey, it's like LinkedIn or IMDb for podcasters. So shout out to Podchaser.
Nice. Okay. Number 3 for me on podcast resources out here that I like to use is Twitter. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not a Twitter person, or I don't understand the Twitter world, or they be kinky on there. Yes, and yes. But if you're not on Twitter, you're missing out on a whole world that can bust through for you and your show. Twitter is kind of like saying what you want, not being regulated. You can see people enjoying themselves and their bodies at 4 a.m. in the morning. You can see it at 9 a.m. You could be tweeted by a company in 2 seconds that you probably wouldn't even be able to get a meeting with. It has a search engine on it that's pretty good. Like I said, hashtag. Once I started posting my links for my shows randomly on Twitter, my shows have grown like nobody's business. Okay, because people are clicking through trying to figure out what this is, what is this about, and they're finding your shows. So share your links on Twitter. Again, Twitter is something that is free. It's in people's phones. You're in people's faces instantly. You get to meet others and collab. You can send your links for your shows, get in those threads and have conversations with other podcasters because they will link you up with other podcasters. I don't know Greg in real life. I met Greg through a podcaster. Even Peabody, I met Peabody through tweeting and having something to say. And the people that I podcast with, my podcast family has grown so much just off of Twitter and being in discussion. So don't be afraid to talk to strangers on Twitter.
Yes, that is. Yep. So you know what? That's funny that we went to socials. So that was your number 3. So my number 3 is one of 3, and they are the best way to build your audience outside of Twitter, which is Discord, Slack, or Clubhouse. If you have an established following, I would suggest Discord. That way you can connect with your listeners and your listeners can connect to other listeners. And it's pretty much like they just branch out. They talk to other people. I learned today, thanks to the Joe Budden news that we talked about earlier, that there are Discords for so many things. There's fantasy football Discords. There's TV Discords. And just like Twitter, you can have these conversations, but they're in real time. And, it's pretty much like what the AOL chat rooms used to be. To me, that's what Discord feels like. And I do like the fact that you can discuss things with, random people, and you don't have to share your phone number. So it's not like, iMessage group or, group me or, something like that. So Discord is my number 1. Slack is a little bit more professional, but the good thing about Slack is if you do use it for work, you can still be at work and be in your favorite group. So if She Gets a Podcast has a Slack group and you know for a fact that you use Slack all day, you can just tab over on Slack and just talk your shit while you're at work because it works on all the work computers and it's not banned like I'm sure Discord probably is. And it's installed on a lot of people's pre-installed like phones or on their like work computers because they use these platforms. So Slack is my number 2. Clubhouse is a little bit of a more mature audience that want to talk audio. I don't know how this is going to actually fare with Clubhouse when people go back to work because not everybody's going to be able to sit in their cubicle and talk the same way they talk, as if they were at home. If they had a chat option like Discord and Slack, it would be my number 1. But for now, I don't see it much growth when we get back to this new normal, post-pandemic. But when you're at home, sure, shoot the shit. You're on Clubhouse. You promote your podcast. Other people promote their podcast, but you have to know that on Clubhouse there are a lot of people who perpetrate, and they aren't podcasters. They're just really good at marketing, and you'll easily know how to distinguish the two by asking a simple question, which is, how many episodes do you have? That is my number 1 question. People giving you podcast advice and they have not even published their podcast. They are not podcasters.
Dangerous.
And that is no disrespect to people who have podcasts launching because they started a new show and things like that. But what I tell anybody is you wouldn't go to McDonald's and give them advice if you've never worked the fries.
Yeah.
I just, when I see it, it actually upsets me because they market perfectly. They tell you all like merchandise. This is what you need to do to, get your podcast off the ground, to the point. I think one guy said that you get a new, like you can reinvent yourself with a podcast. And I called Shannon. We had a show, was it 2 weeks ago? And I said, there's no possible way you can reinvent yourself with a podcast. You was who you was when you got there. Kanye said it best. So if you are a cornball, you're going to be a cornball on your show. If you want to reinvent yourself, yes, but the real people know you. And trust me, it's going to come out. It might only be one episode. It might even be two. But eventually, the true you comes out. Be who you are. But at the end of the day, you just need to make sure that you have podcast episodes up and in the tub. So shout out to anybody who's on stereo. Even if you talked on here once, that is a podcast. And that being said, hopefully that is my number 3. I think I have 2 more to go. And Shannon's going to whoop my ass on the last 2. So what's your last 2, Shannon?
All right. Number 2 for me for a podcast resource on my top 10 list is Google Shared Folder. Thank you, Greg.
Yes, Lord.
The way that Greg and I go ahead and we share files is easiest, and it's through Google Shared Folder. Who doesn't have Google? Who doesn't have Gmail? Everybody. Damn near everybody. If you're using your Hotmail, shame on you.
Yes, indeed.
But, Google Share Folder is an easy way to save information, send files, and send it to people without having to know if they have a Dropbox. Did you pay your Dropbox in order to go ahead and keep the room on it? All of that extra stuff. It's very quick and easy. It's easy to go ahead and send information and not have to think about it or second guess it. It goes straight to your email, straight to your phone, and wherever else it needs to go. So make you a folder on Google and share your files and stop overthinking it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My number 2 is this isn't just for people who have co-hosts, but if you need to schedule things, and Shan is the queen at scheduling. She's great at it. I advise, and I started to use today, Calendly. It's spelled Calendly, so Calendly. You can book meetings, you can schedule recording and studio time, and you can know that they are going to attend. Self-accountability is everything in podcasting, and the best way to structure your show, like, Shan structures hers, I structure mine. If I need to tell my co-host, hey, by the way, we are going to record on Tuesday, you send out a calendar invite, same way you would do Evite. But what it does is you can input your Slack link, you can put in your Zoom link, you can go and say, you know what, this person may be able to attend. And yes, you can do this with Google Calendar and things like that, but you don't have to crowd up your actual Google Calendar with your more important things like, the baby's doctor's appointments and your personal appointments. Calendly, you can go into it on any web browser, you can download the app, but it also ties in to your Google Calendar if you decided to, that you wanted to do that. I'm going to start using this way more, not only for podcasting, like booking meetings and stuff like that, but to keep myself accountable for the days that I want to publish my shows. Anybody who knows me knows I might publish on Monday, I might publish on Tuesday, then I publish again on Friday. Calendly will allow you to not only do all of that, but you can schedule things up in advance. Obviously, again, I'll say this, you can do it with any other calendar app, but I personally like the fact that it holds you and the people that you co-host with and the people that are your guests accountable for it. It sends them the RSVP, and it also sends them alerts via email or text if you want, if you send it as that option to say, you know what, reminder, we have a show in 4 hours, because not everybody checks the calendar app. Calendly, what they do is they send both the calendar appointment in an email and a SMS format, similar to your doctor. If your doctor says, hey, as a reminder, are you coming to the doctor appointment next Wednesday? Calendly, a lot of those doctors and dentists and stuff like that, they do the same thing. They use the same platform. So why not use it for podcasting? That, for me, is number 2.
Okay. I'm a calendar freak, but I'm a physical calendar freak. I have calendars on my desk, another calendar on my fridge, and another one in my room. Okay. I be on top of things, and I make alarms for everything. All right. We for my number 1. Okay. My number 1 is Redcircle. Of life. Greg brought this thing to my attention. Redcircle is a desktop free platform for podcasters who want to bring a show on there or create a show. The only downside with Redcircle is there is no creation tool or app to be on your phone. It is web-based only, but the way that they make it easy to bring your show in from an RSS feed that's already established is really easy. The way that they have it formatted on there for you to see your analytics, how people are listening, what are they listening on their watch, uh, are they listening at their desktop, how often are they listening, where are they listening, how many people are listening. They break it down geography wise with a map so you can see a hotspots of who's listening to your show. I don't know who is listening to my show in California, but I appreciate you guys. My show is now in Japan, in Taiwan. It breaks it down to the cities. Africa is listening to my podcast now. Austria, places that I've never been. I don't know anyone there. They're listening to my podcast. And so I just feel like since I moved to Redcircle in October, I wrote this down. Okay, so when I left in October, I was at 58 in downloads, right? And I've been on Anchor since 2018. And when I left Anchor in October and I've been on Redcircle, I'm at 15,000.7K in listens for all of the 3 shows that I have on there, right? And that's in just 5 months. That's in just 5 months. So if I divided for being on Anchor for the last years, that's only 1,583 downloads each year, estimate wise. So I just feel like I'm reaching a bigger audience and the growth is better. The way that you can cross promote your podcast with other podcasters on Redcircle is really decent. The options that they give you as far as ads that you can run on your show and get paid for it is decent. You get to pick if you do want to run ads. You don't have to run ads if you don't want to. They don't throw it in there without your consent first. And you get to promote your friends' shows if they're on Redcircle. And you even get to put in your own ad still in the original download. So there's so many options. And I just feel like Redcircle is about your podcast growing, not just sitting. I feel like a lot of podcast platforms are just like, okay, we gave you the space. We're telling you that you can only have this many and this many recordings in this time to be on here. If you want more space, you got to pay more. I don't have to pay anything to be as consistent as I want to be on Redcircle, and it's free. So I want growth and I want to monetize. So right now, Redcircle is it for me. I'm so glad that Greg brought it to my attention because we really didn't know what it was or how it worked. I went first. Once I told Greg it's a for sure thing, he came along with his show and we've been going ham ever since. And it's just been really great and easy. I hope that they do make an app, but even if they don't make an app, I'm staying for right now.
Yeah. You can't beat unlimited storage for free.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You cannot. Even if they go to a paid tier, if it's $14, I'm paying. If it's $20, I'm paying. The reason why is it's that good of an app. Knowing for a fact that all of my back catalog of 290 episodes is just stored away. And the customer service, I can reach out to them in the website and say, you know what, I need all of my files. They will go, and what I learned is they will go and send you a hard drive of all of your episodes and mail it to you. So say, for example, you're like, you know what? I want to take all of my episodes and just have those, or I need those back, and I just want to have a hard copy of them. You will have all 700 of your podcasts on a hard drive. You cannot beat that from a platform that will do something like that for you. The customer service is fantastic. The ad revenue is fantastic. The ad space is fantastic. But one thing that, I learned from using Redcircle that I didn't think was possible until Redcircle was something called cross promotions. You can cross promote with other fucking podcasters. So Shannon she can run an ad directly from, recording on her phone, send it into Redcircle, and now it's on my show. It starts either at the beginning, in mid-roll, or in post-roll. However she wants it, it will end up being on my show. Every episode. I don't know another platform that does not only analytics, but cross promotions. And then this one, I know I'm talking too much, but the dynamic insertion, this shit is fucking fantastic. It picks up where there's dead space in your show, and then they automatically put the fucking ads in there for you. Come on now. Yeah. I'm sorry, Anchor. I did love you once upon a time, but this shit is fantastic. I might as well just give my number one too. I have to. My number one, in the term of sponsors and cross promotion for your podcast, Redcircle is obviously number one on my list. There are two. One I absolutely hate, but I have to put it on the list, which is Podcorn. And the new one that I just discovered is PodSwipe. PodSwipe is actually a podcasting platform for podcasters and guests to discover each other. And you can book your guest on PodSwipe. So say, for example, you've always wanted to do a podcast with somebody new that you never met, but you listen to this show, they listen to your show, and you say, you know what, I want to connect with them. You can book to be a part of their show, and they can be a part of your show from PodSwipe. It's a new platform. I think it just came out maybe like a week ago, but if you start early, everything will be beneficial. Like right now we're in Redcircle, and it's been very beneficial. So if they ever change anything, we're like, you know what, we were there at the beginning, we started it, and we hope we bring other people in. And that is the same thing that's going to happen with PodSwipe. So I tell anybody who's listening, PodSwipe is going to be the one. So that's why PodSwipe, Redcircle, and if you want to, Podcorn. I'm personally off of Podcorn, but a lot of people still use it to find sponsors for their show. So that is my number one.
I love it. Damn, we got
some honorable. Yeah. Now, I have some honorable mentions, though. I know we got to get to these voicemails because we got plenty. But I'm gonna give an honorable mention. There is a book. If you are like, someone who honestly just wants to sit down and read about it and just get the knowledge for yourself and take, draw your own conclusions. There is a book on Amazon called Everybody Has a Podcast, a how-to guide from the first family of podcasting. The link, I'll have it in both Shannon and I's show notes. That is a great book to start, but just bear in mind that is written by white folks, and the way that they podcast may be a little bit different from you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, but it's definitely a really good book to check out to say, you know what, this is how certain people podcast. A lot of people like to have studios. They like to do, audio treatment where they put the panels on their wall and things like that. That's not me. I'm a fan of a quiet room, and I can just get it done. But Everybody Has a Podcast, a how-to guide from the first family of podcasting, is a great source. Also, Rephonic. Rephonic is, it pretty much, it tells you which other podcasts share a similar audience. So right now, you could go to, I think it's rephonic.com or rephonic.net, rephonic.com. So you can type in a podcast. So right now, I can type in She Gets It podcast. So I'll just type in She Gets It. So I'll type in She Gets It, and it populates your show. So then what it does is it does an algorithm of shows like that based off of the titles of your episodes, how many episodes you have, and the content by the demographic. So it gives you the reach, the demographic, and contacts made between 1.9 million podcasters. So right now, there are shows like Shan's, like Women Wanting More, Love Smarter, relationship advice for women who like personal development, Embodied with Elizabeth. What else do we have? Your Kick-Ass Life podcast. Like, they tell you podcasts that actually talk similar or do things similar to She Gets It. But there's like, what do you call it? Like not a Venn diagram, but what's that? Like a mind map of podcasting. So that is definitely a really good resource for people who are like, you know what? This is my podcast, but who else does, things like I do? That way you can scope out your competition. You can see what they've talked about and then say, you know what? I want to go and talk about that, but put my own spin on it. Rephonic.com is a great resource for anybody who wants to see how the other half live. Like when I look at She Gets It, it says She Gets It podcast is similar to Cozy Womb podcast, The Brilliant Idiots, Therapy for Black Girls. Let me see, what is this show called? I can't see. Selfish Babe, Selfish Talk podcast. Never heard of them. Purpose Planner, Halfway Bougie Podcast. Don't know who the hell that is. The Link Up Podcast. Dear Black Girl. Black Girls Heal. You know, I'm not going to give these people too much free promo, but what I'm going to say is like basically rephonic.com. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I didn't mention this. This was an honorable mention as well. Squarespace. If you do feel inclined to start your own website for your show and you want to get that off the ground, Squarespace. You may have heard of it before. I'm not, promoting them. I'm not pumping them. I will just say at $16 a month, you could do worse. You could definitely be spending, $50, $60 on, developing a website, paying a web designer to get that shit done, or you can do it yourself. Coming from somebody who, did HTML with like Black Planet pages and shit like that, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. Squarespace just got me. I did have somebody develop it because I'm lazy, and they told me what I can do to edit it if I need to. And that's all I need. So shout out to Squarespace, $16 a month, and I can see all the analytics. I can tie in my podcast so I can see who's listening directly from the website, and it just looks professional. So shout out to Squarespace.
So many good gems. I'm sorry if you did not have a sharpened pencil or a pen. I'm sorry if your phone is dead. I am sorry, but you can play this later. You could play this on She Gets It podcast. You can play this on Young Black and Bothered. It'll be on there in a few days. But what I will say, we didn't put stereo on there because we are on stereo. So we know stereo is a great resource to go ahead and get your feet wet in the idea of podcasting, but don't let your good content go to waste. Don't let it just sit here and not do anything. If you're thinking about podcasting, nobody expects your first episode to be the best episode of your life. So stop overthinking it. Everybody's first episode can always be better. Just start the shit. Do your best and just improve as you go. Take in what you want. Don't add what you don't want. If it's not authentically you, then don't do it. We do have messages here. I am going to play them, but if you guys have any questions over anything that we went over, or if you need us to repeat something or go into detail, say it now, because once this is recorded, it's going to be a resource for you guys to use or anybody you send it to. If you've been enjoying the show, please clap it up. If you need to share it so somebody can have it. But we do appreciate you guys listening. Anything else before I hit these messages, Greg?
This is the last call for everybody, so y'all better get these damn voicemails in.
Yeah.
You know what time it is.
It's 11:11. Make a wish.
Yo, I'm the one who built Loudmouth Apparel, but you spelled it wrong. You have an F on the end, but it's a TH. But since it's your month, I'm going to give you a pass.
Hey, Greg, is iHeart a good podcasting network, or however you want to call it? Should I put some of my podcast stuff on iHeart?
Yes, you want your podcast on as many platforms as possible, including iHeartRadio. It's easy. All you have to do is go to their website and say, here is my RSS feed, and they will send you a link back with saying, hey, by the way, your podcast is on our platform. Think about it like this. If you're everywhere, there's no reason why nobody can hear you. That right there is your goal. We're on Deezer. I've never seen anybody actually use Deezer, but I'm sure that they do. And it's best to be on there because that could be the difference in, someone important hearing your show and then giving it to somebody else important. And next thing you know, you're getting an email in your inbox saying, hey, we want to collaborate with you. So every platform is the best platform.
I just realized I put an extra R and O in stereo.
Oh, my lordy.
I'm not going to fix it because you're already here.
Hello. How are you guys doing today?
Hello. You sound like
What's up?
Thank you for all this, guys. Yo, this is all the information, all the motivation I need. Greg, we've already talked. You're dope. But yeah, I just want to, show my appreciation for just the grind and the hustle and just the whole gearing towards, newcomers. You're very encouraging, and yeah, it's all appreciated.
Come on,
Thanks.
Rick. Get your feet
Of
wet,
course,
Rick.
man. Like, of course.
Man, you guys are really the best. You're talking to a dinosaur right here, but I really want to get heavy into podcasting. Is there a podcasting for dummies? Because I really want to start researching it, or even maybe paying you guys for your time to just run me through to all this information. I couldn't catch everything because I was on the train going home, but I need another episode of this kind of talk so I can really get in tune, because I want to take my podcasting to another level.
We're always free, bro. Like, always free. For the people who actually want to do it, and I know he's want to do it because he's talked about it before, like, we are available. There are obviously more resources, stuff like that. I can send you links for pretty much everything if you want to do the research on your own. Shannon and I will have everything like linked up in, show notes and stuff too. I already got most of the shit typed up anyway. So hopefully, if y'all are serious, like, today is the day. Just like we just jumped on here and told y'all stuff, trust me. Like, we can give it to you in a text message, we can give it to you over the phone. And if you just want to talk, man, like, we have consultant hours. So, hit up She Gets It Pod, hit up me at Al Sharp Tongue on Twitter. More importantly, continue to keep listening to us on stereo. You never know. We actually had a show that we were going to do tonight. We were like, you know what?
Yeah.
Today is education day. Today is education day. Let's just go and tell people the proper way of podcasting. The art that we knew, because in 5 years, podcasting might be a little bit different and you have to change with the times. So hopefully we change with it. And with changing with it, you have to actually know where it came from. And I feel like Shannon and myself, we have kind of learned from podcasters before, and we've tried to improve on the faults. And the easier that podcasting gets, we don't want people to kind of get lost in that and see podcasting as, what stereo initially is just one person talking to another. There's so much more to it. There's editing involved. There's, storage involved. All the things we talked about are involved in podcasting. So yes, you could be great on the mic, but are you a podcaster? And that's what we want everybody to be by the end of, us talking, by the end of us doing a second episode. We don't know if we're going to have to do one, but hopefully we're doing, podcasters, past, present, and future a good service by, just giving away free game.
Facts. I enjoyed this show. I've been telling Greg for like the past 2 months that, man, you're like walking information, especially when it comes to tech. This is not all that Greg does is podcasting. Greg does other things. And as far as like an information hub of information, he is it. I feel like Greg can do a whole tech show about the objects and the products that you can use in order to have a great podcast, which is something I think he should do. But I don't know what next level of podcasting we can do as far as a second show to this, because I feel like we will always still come back to what they should use, which is like a podcasting 101. Maybe if we might come up with a different list next time, maybe. But I think for beginners, I think from your list and my list, this was a good list.
Yeah. I already had an idea of the second episode. I was just going to give you a brief little thing. Obviously, like you had just mentioned tech, I was going to talk about the microphones and the budget for things. So all the stuff we talked about, we didn't talk about prices. We didn't talk about, what things will cost. So, we can give them like I think the next episode should more so be the starter kit for podcasting. We gave them resources, but we need a starter kit. So if they were to start tomorrow, like, what would they buy? What would they need? And how much the stuff costs? More importantly, like, from your aspect of it, what are some good topics? Because I love to hear people's other topics, because we're not swiping, not swipe. What's that thing from that TV show? Swiping, no swiping. We're not that. We don't do that. But at the same time, like, yeah, it would be great to hear the listeners tell us, like, yo, what would your podcast be about? Would it be just you? Would it be similar to She Gets It podcast? Would it be about sports? Would it be about like Lord Shamik on the streets?
Because people are failing with this on Clubhouse. Don't come on a recording talking about something you haven't started, because somebody will pick that shit the hell up. Don't share the name if you haven't started it, because people have been sharing their names of what they're about to do on Clubhouse, and I'm sure people scooping it up. All right, you don't know who's listening. You don't know who's ready before you're ready. And if your show name is taken, you're going to be at level 1 once again. So don't share it if you're not ready. But if you have an idea of what your niche is as far as what you're going for, do it. Okay, I have different shows because it's pertaining to different subjects, and that's what works for me. But what works for me may not work for you. So figure out what it is that you want to portray and just go for it.
Yeah. I'm a fan of that. That is why her name is She Gets It Pod, because she be getting it.
That's right. Everything to do.
So, yeah. Oh Lord. So, like I said before, like I said before, everybody, this is last call. Obviously we have things that we need to do in life called life. So I want everybody to obviously have a good evening, but I want you all to know you still have time to leave voicemails. We do have 2 more left. So if you do have it, it is last call time. I don't want to play the Jeopardy music for y'all because I don't have my soundboard ready. But yes, please, any voicemails, any last questions, or you can just save them, because there will be a part 2. Now that you know there's a part 2, Shannon and I will, we'll chop it up. We'll figure out what the part 2 should be. But the floor is yours.
All right, I'm gonna play these voicemails.
But I am taking notes. I'm taking notes as you guys go along, as y'all do the show, as I go in and out. Hopefully you guys maybe still be on, or maybe y'all revisit this topic again. I'm definitely going to tune in with you guys.
If you catch Loudmouth Stereo in a couple of days, this whole episode will be on it in its entirety, and you can pause it, you can play it, you can pause it, you can save it, and you can play it again if you want to. If you have She Gets a Podcast subscribe to popping up on your podcast feed, I will have the whole episode in its entirety on She Gets a Podcast tomorrow. So just you don't miss anything with us. It's either you live or you play it on your time, but you won't miss anything. All right, I'm gonna play the next one.
Quick question: is there a special mic or setup that you guys use or could recommend? I've seen a few mics on Amazon, but I'm not quite sure of the quality. So is there any mics that you guys would suggest?
I think that is a great question for episode 2.
Yes.
We are going to talk about the podcast starter kit, including microphones, XLR cables, memory cards, soundboards, apps, all that. You might hear me talking for at least 20 to 30 minutes just about that. I have a list. I'm definitely going to go into that. But next week, what I have like tentative when it comes to like the show, I wanted to talk about the starter kit. I want to talk about storage. Shan, she's the best that I know of when it comes to editing. So I hope that she can just like go off on that. We're going to do a segment where her and I, just like we did the top 20 podcast resources, we're going to talk about 10 of our favorite podcasts. They don't have to be our all-time favorite, but they can just be 10 podcasts that are, that our favorites are. We can talk about extra tidbits and things like that, but we want to hear from y'all. So, hopefully episode 2 of this, you guys come in and you say, everything, all the questions that you have, save them, write them down. This is kind of like an off-the-cuff episode where we were, prepared and organized, but you guys might have not known how much information that you want to get. And like Shannon said, if you haven't gotten all the episode, trust me, it's on both of the platforms for part 1. But part 2, it won't be next week, because I think next week is Valentine's Day from, what I'm told. But we can do it the following week. I feel like in 2 weeks, what we will do is we will come back in 2 weeks with part 2. And we will have episodes between then, obviously every Wednesday and Saturday. And we do appreciate everybody who stays in. We've had a laundry list of people in here, 182 total listeners. So shout out to every single one of you. I don't feel like shouting everybody's name out, but you know who you are. And if you are in here now, the 7 people, I need you to go ahead and clap it up for yourself for living and being through all of the shit. So shout out to the both, to all of you. Cheyenne, I think we got one more voicemail. Is there anything else you wanted to get off your chest?
No, this was a good show. You said a lot of great things that I even had to write down just so I could check it out. And I think if you get into this podcasting and you get to a point where you feel like you know enough and you don't need to know anymore, you're fucking up. You always need to know more. So always be open-eared and learn to be quiet when you need to be quiet to take in something that can possibly really help your show. And be efficient, because it is your time. Your time is money. Your time could be spent with your family. So if you go to a podcast, you might as well do it in an efficient way where you can use your time wisely.
Fact.
All right.
Fact.
All right, Greg. Now that I know you're going to do it, I'm definitely going to lock that in. As soon as you post it, I'm putting that in my calendar. I'm locked in, bro. She got a podcast. Always, once again, I appreciate you guys. Y'all are the best, the most informative people on this stereo app. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. I'm still out here in these streets. I think I see Kyrie in the chicken spot. About to ask him a few questions. So, Greg, oh man, he over here with Tom Brady. Tom Brady must think he's a ref. But I'll holler at you guys. Peace and blessings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to get him right on the next show. But this was good,
Yes,
Greg.
we do.
This was good.
Yes, indeed. This is one of my favorite ones. I love giving away like free game, because trust me, a lot of places ain't.
And this is
Like,
why
hey, by the way,
I hate people that stop people from getting information to hog it and control and be like, well, next time, I can have you. No, next time you can have me nowhere. I'm here to help people. I believe in hogging information. When you hog information, you just pour into having more ignorant people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And no shout out to that lovely lady individual who pretty much was given a whole bunch of misinformation about absolutely nothing. I definitely blocked you as well, because I was not a fan of your methods. One thing I hate is I hate when people charge you for information that they can give away for free, because 9 times out of 10 they got the information for free. I would be remiss to go and say, you know what, all the information that I can give to somebody, I can give it to them. And yeah, I could go and give a course and stuff like that, but that's for more advanced shit. If you want me to be the hands-on person for that, pay me. However, all the information that's out there, why don't I combine it and compile it for you, send it to you, that way it's yours, and then you pass it on to the next person. Those people end up being established podcasters. They end up being good podcasters. But word to the young lady on Clubhouse who was saying that there are a lot of podcasters who don't want to see you do better than them. Shit, I want everybody to do better than me. The reason why is because I need content to listen to when I'm not creating content. That is how you know you're a podcaster.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. Well, this was Loudmouth Stereo. My name is Shan. You can find She Gets a Podcast on most of, if not all of your podcast platforms. If you're a parent, check out Cozy Moon Podcast. That's another show that I do. So What Page Me on Bed? That's a book club that I do with 2 friends. A new episode dropped early this morning. For Greg, you have Young Black and Bothered, okay? You have Loudmouth Stereo on here that we do every Wednesday night and Saturday night, okay? So don't act like you don't know where to find us. Find us, all right? We out here.
Fact.
With that being said, I'm going to put this, and then we going to be out.
Hey, shout out to the homie. Hey, Greg. Yo. She Gets It Pod. What's up?
What's up, Keezy?
It's Keezy, rolling through these stereo streezies. Just want to show love to, to the people that I fuck with or mess with.
Shout out Shout out, man. Shout out to you.
Hey, achète-toi de la poutine, câlisse.
Ooh, that's a lot of spit. Okay.
I hope I was not cursed out.
Thank you for coming through. I don't know what you said, but we'll be back on Saturday night with another good one. We out, Greg.
All right, guys. Peace.
Thanks.